What is Prime Surefooted? Why do all creators' builds have it? And what are some options to use instead of it? Prime Surefooted is a mod that many people meme on and go on and on about, so let's talk about it. The mod itself makes it so that you can't be knocked over or self-staggered, with a few weird exceptions around bosses and mini-bosses. Now in Warframe that might not seem like that huge of an issue, and largely it isn't, but once you get to a certain point in the game it doesn't necessarily become necessary, but the quality of life that it brings you will really improve your gameplay, and for many of us, our enjoyment of the game too. Once you're at the endgame of Warframe, efficiency in your actions becomes critical for your success, be it either your damage output or personal survivability. Prime Surefooted essentially makes your life inside of the game much easier in that regards, as you can't get out of harm's way or put out damage if you're too busy finding out what the difference between how the floors of a Grineer from Morion and a Corpus Obelisk taste. It essentially allows you to remove a major aspect of enemies' threats to you, totally and completely. So the next obvious question is, how frequently are you actually being knocked over if you don't have any protection from it? AKA, is it actually that useful, or all of us who have it being snobs and rubbing it in your face that we've logged in for 400 days and you haven't? Well, if we don't include Xmas units, of which there are 2 that do knockdowns, Arsonist and Blitz, there are at the time of recording 21 different enemies spread across the factions that can do knockdown to you, not including corrupted versions on Void Relic missions, and of course Xmas versions of those enemies. So from enemies there's actually a significant number that can knock you down, and if there's enough of them, you could be chain knocked down for a fairly long time, possibly leading to your death. The other major source of knockdown is your own weapons that do AoE and that can self-stagger you, because yes, self-stagger for AoE weapons is included in the anti-knockdown mechanic. And to be completely honest with you, that's the main reason why most people use Prime Surefooted. Many people love AoE weapons, and for good reason. Warframe is basically a horde shooter after all, and we want to have the most effective way of introducing the most baddies to their version of the Pearly Gates as quickly as possible. Alright, so if you don't have it, what are some of the options to ignore knockdowns? Knockdown is technically a status effect, so if you play a Warframe whose abilities give you status immunity, like Neza's Warding Halo or Inaros' Scarab Armor, that's one way for you to solve the problem. Some frames are inherently immune to knockdown or have abilities that give you immunity, like Atlas as long as he's on the ground and Ureli's Millerina. Overguard, the kind of grayish-white health bar thing, will also make you immune to status effects. And there's quite a few ways and frames that you can get Overguard these days, like Dante, Colorvo, Rhino, and Stynax or Frost with their augments, or the new secondary Fortifier Arcane that allows you to steal Overguard from enemies. There's also mods like Power Drift, Handspring, and Constitution that will mitigate the amount of time or chance for you to be knocked down and give you options for other frames who can't get Overguard or inherently ignore it. I hope that all this info helps you understand why us creators all suggest and use Prime Surefooted. So let me know what you think in the comments and drop by my stream if you need any help.